and welcome again to another one of Shadow Redux's Battlefield Play4Free video commentaries. If you haven't checked out the game yet, go to battlefield.play4free.com.
I feel like that intro was done by Jabba the Hutt. Kinda strange. Anyway, of course guys, I'm here with another video commentary, and before I get into the nitty-gritty of it, the person that actually suggested this video isn't just one person that I'm actually going to be mentioning in this video. It's actually two people, because one person actually did the submission the right way, and the other person actually did submit it first upon the release of this weapon. So, their names are
Ghost Rider 0067 and Ace-Led.
So thank you very much to the both of you, Ace-Led for being the first comment on YouTube actually during the release of the gun, and for Ghost Rider 0067 because, you know, you've always been a good PMer and a good follower. So I also wanted to make mention of your name in this video as well. So this is for you as well. And Ace-Led for actually waiting for the gun to be released before actually making the video suggestion. Because a lot of you actually were suggesting before the gun's released because you heard about it ahead of time, but that's not how it works. It's usually suggested as soon as the release of the weapon is here. So keep that in mind for next time. For those of you that want to suggest a weapon, make sure it's already released first, not known about ahead of time. So yeah. Now back to the topic at hand. The gun that I'll be using in this video is the RPK-74M. RPK-74M. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'm just going to call it the RPK for short. The RPK is definitely an interesting entry to the light machine gun class of weapons. It has some interesting characteristics that I'll point out in the video, starting off with the positives. One of the things I actually noticed, even though I'm really not starting out with a positive here, it does seem to have the least amount of bullets out of all the light machine gun class weapons, giving it a total of 40 per magazine, but in turn, out of all the light machine guns, this actually has the most magazines it can carry out of all the light machine gun classes for its standard issue without any attachments or anything like that, because the total magazines that you have with this light machine gun is 4. So out of the rest of them in Play4Free, there's usually a standard of 2 or 3, you know, magazines in total that you have. Also, the other interesting thing I found out about the RPK is that when you're aiming down sight and moving left to right while firing, it does seem to have the least amount of inaccuracy, meaning you can still stay relatively on par of where you're aiming, especially if your target's at medium ranges. You can get away with strafing while aiming down sight and still maintaining accurate shots on your target, which is quite nice because you cannot, you know, some of the times a lot of people have to stop in motion in order to get accurate shots with the light machine guns, but this one you can actually strafe and be able to maintain accurate shots from medium ranges, which is quite nice. Also, one of the other interesting things about the RPK is that when you aim down sight, it does have a higher amount of inaccuracy and a moderate to high amount of recoil, but the hip-fire accuracy is relatively accurate for this light machine gun, which is pretty interesting. So if you get into quick ranges or quick close-range fights with some of your enemies, you can definitely get away with just using your hip fire to kill some of your targets, so you don't necessarily have to aim down sight all the time with the RPK. The other positive aspect with the RPK is that it does have the least amount of reload time out of all the light machine gun class weapons for your medic, so that's also a positive. That also in turn counters against, I would assume, having the least amount of ammunition for your magazine. So of course you would want that fast reload to help you out there to get back into the fight. So they actually balance that out pretty well. And to just touch a little bit more on the hipfire accuracy, You may notice in the video that I was able to do, I believe towards the end of the video, a jump hip fire shot, and it was still relatively accurate. So you can get away with doing some ridiculous shots via hip fire with the RPK, which is a strange and interesting new take on a light machine gun class weapon, because usually to maintain good accuracy you would want to aim down sight, but this one it's a little different. Like I said, it's kind of weird, but in a good way. You know, it's kind of like a different pace. If going for body shots, the average amount of damage the RPK can do at both close to medium range seems to stay around the mid to high 20s, and at farther ranges it seems to stay between 16 to 20 damage. Of course, if you're aiming for headshot, at close range it'll take 2 bullets. At medium ranges it takes on average 2 bullets, possibly 3. And at longer ranges it'll take 3 to possibly 4 shots to take out your enemy via headshot. Okay, moving on to some of the negative aspects with this light machine gun. It does have the least amount of bullets per magazine out of all the machine gun class weapons for your medic. Also, it does seem to have the highest amount of recoil when aiming down sight. Now, hip fire accuracy, the recoil is not as bad. That's why I'm saying this gun is interesting, because you can get away with more accurate hip fire shots most of the time from closer to medium ranges than aiming down sight. Aiming down sight, you know, the recoil is pretty hard on this weapon, which is interesting. Of course, one of the other negative aspects with this gun is due to the fact of its low ammo count. You'll just find yourself reloading a little bit more so than your average light machine gun. So just bear that in mind as well. Alright, just a quick overview of the pros and cons with the RPK. Of course, the first positive aspect with the RPK is that it does have the least amount of reload time in comparison to all the light machine gun class weapons for your medic. Also, the hip fire accuracy is extremely well suited for this weapon, as being probably the most accurate light machine gun for your hip fire accuracy without having to aim down sight, whether you're jumping, running, or strafing. However, when you're aiming down sight and strafing and you make your first initial couple shots while still moving back and forth, of course the accuracy seems to still be there from close to medium range as well. So you can move a little bit and still maintain accurate shots with the RPK. Now, the negative aspects, like I said, is that it does have the least amount of ammo per magazine, and you will find yourself reloading quite a bit. However, the aim down sight does seem to have a bit of a more forced recoil, making it a little bit harder to maintain accurate shots, but if you have a little bit more control, that shouldn't be too much of a problem for a veteran medic. All in all, the RPK does seem to be a different light machine gun class weapon for those of you looking for a different change of pace, and possibly a cool design that looks similar to the AK-47, because it's definitely one of those guns that can rival most of the light machine gun weapons in Play4Free if used correctly and with the right attachments. That's all I got for the RPK-74M. I'll see you guys next time, or on the battlefield, whichever comes first.